What's up, guys? Welcome back to Roensch Capital Charts. Today we're taking a look at Palantir stock, ticker symbol PLTR, on a variety of time frames in anticipation of the next trading day, Monday, April 8th. Alright guys, Palantir stock on Friday finished the day up 48 cents a share. That's plus 2.14% in regular trading hours. Let's pull out as much bias as the market was willing to give us here today by taking a look at a variety of sources, finishing off with the directional bias out of the chain and the expected move. Let's start here by doing a quick analysis on the volume profile to see what kind of bias lies beneath on the 5-minute chart. Guys, Palantir, if you haven't heard, Palantir is a daily upload now. The Palantir video every single weekday will hit at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time sharp. So if you have not done so already, please subscribe to the channel. And let's take a look. The moves that I'm primarily interested in here on Palantir are going to be that pop and slow fade off of the open. Okay, fade upside is what I mean. And then, here, let's circle this here. There we go, we can get some crossover going. And then this fade and recovery. Now, a lot of people look at this fade and recovery, and when you're only looking at the price action, it looks like a net neutral move. You ended up in the same place. Well, we're going to look at the volume because that's not always the case. What you can actually see is a lot more bias on one side of the move or the other that leads us to believe that what lies underneath was not exactly net neutral. The price just ended up net neutral, which is two different things. So let's take a look here, starting from left to right at the volume profile here. We take a look. We have that very contextual fade off the open. For a lot of the morning, we saw little pops, but we saw them on both sides. It was very normal. We started to get an increase in volume, but once we hit that kind of peak on this initial move, right, which really ended up being essentially the intraday high, we then saw a fade in volume. It's like a pyramid, green turning red. Those kind of setups, more so in the volume profile, they cancel each other out because you're seeing kind of equal movement on both sides of that move. But when we get to the other side of that fade, like we were talking about here, okay, you start to see an increase in green volume offset by a single red candle. And then once this fade began on the backside of this upside move here, tapping that intraday high once again, we see a big, quick drop off in volume that doesn't necessarily match the opposite side. So for me, this move here, intraday, mid-morning, that mid-morning push to tap that intraday high once again, there's a slight bullish bias there in the volume profile that we wouldn't be aware of simply by looking at the price action. All right, now let's move on and take a look at the psychological self-fulfilling prophecy levels that me, traders all across the world, and I think you should be as well, paying attention to come Monday. Now, if you recall from Thursday's video, guys, we gave up the 50 period on the 30-minute, and we gave it up hard. Okay, we never got a retest, but that was a first day breakdown side. Today, we reclaimed it. We attempted to also reclaim that descending 200 period. We failed to do so, but we reclaimed the 50 on high volume. We got a pull in. We bounced on a little bit higher volume. That's a great thing to see. And then we pulled in on decreasing volume and got a little bit of it was a little bit sloppy there late in the day. But we got a little bit of increasing volume heading into the close, eventually getting stopped by that $22.97, $23 technical area, which is now turned in to a psychological area. Bulls, two things come Monday. Any downside test of that 50 period, I want to see a hard high volume bounce. What I really want to see is an upside break of the 200 period on the 30-minute chart on big volume, low volume retest, and boom, big volume confirmation bounce away. Bears, any upside test, which we're currently sitting up against, of that that 200 period, that gray line here on the 30-minute, you want to see a hard high volume rejection, but really your goal, if you're a bear come Monday, is a downside break back beneath that 50 period. Again, similar to the bullish break of 200, you guys would want to see a downside break on big volume of the 50 period, low volume retest, hard high volume rejection. Onto the 4-hour chart, let's take a look. Is it in play? It is somewhat in play here, especially if we see a break of that $22.97, $23 region. The stock's currently about 2.5% from that 50 period, but if we come into a test of the 50 period, all of a sudden the 4-hour becomes probably the most important chart on the stock. So I'll be paying close attention to the 4-hour if we can see a break upside toward 23.50. But what's more important immediately is the daily chart. This is by far the most important chart on Palantir right now. Do not ignore this one. There are two massive things happening as we speak. Palantir is testing that $22.97, $23 technical level, which then has now become a psychological level. Okay, when levels start out as technical and they're respected as technical levels enough, they commonly become psychological levels and vice versa. But do you see what else is happening right now? That white line, that's the 50-day moving average on the daily chart. That is watched by just about everybody, every fund, institution, every retail investor and trader that has their eye on Palantir. We're testing both at the same time. Bears, that's a slightly beefed up level for you guys. You just want to see a rejection and stop testing that thing, have it confirm as resistance. Bulls, a break and hold above both of these in the same day, which would be by default since they're basically at the same point right now. That would be beautiful. But a break for 6 minutes isn't enough. You have to not lose sight of context. I want to see a break upside as soon as possible, ideally early in the day, on big volume. And then a lot of people would just like to see it run from there. Me, I am a confirmation guy. I prefer to see confirmation because otherwise there's a lot of questions left unanswered. I like to see a high volume break, ideally not getting too far so that we can see a confirmation without having to pull back too much, right? That low volume pullback and retest, and then high volume confirmation on the bounce away. That then opens up an upside test to potentially start testing those whole dollars, right? Of 24 and 25 in the near future after that were to occur. Now, the expected move on Palantir, the next expiration we have is next Friday, and the expected move by then is plus or minus $1.25 per share. And if we take a look out to next week, you can see we don't have any earnings events or anything that would offset one day as a higher expected volatility than all the others. So if we divide that by 5, you get about plus or minus a quarter worth of movement per share every single trading day. But again, that's assuming a streak, 5 green days or 5 red days. So we have to add a little bit. I like to add about 50% to that number, and we get about 38 cents per share, plus or minus expectation in terms of volatility per day. The volatility expectation coupled with the directional bias from doing the analysis first, and also the chain, which we'll take a look at here now, that helps us position ourselves most effectively. Don't ignore the volatility expectation. Okay, now let's take a look at the bias coming out of the options chain as traders position themselves here on Friday, heading into next week. But first, I want to show you guys this. Take a look up top. This was a poll I ran last night. We got some votes here. We got to close today at 22.96. So you can see that this 22% got that correct. It was a very mixed bag on Palantir. I'm posting these community posts every day. I'm taking polls to try to get a good sample size for people to refer to of what the expectation is out of retail investors heading into the following day. I don't see this all over the place, so I thought this would be a very interesting thing to do for myself and for you guys. And, it's fun. Let's take a look. Options bias here today. 338,000 total contracts traded. It's a pretty good sample size. 220,000 calls, 119,000 puts, so a relatively heavy call side bias. The short-term speculators, that 0 to 20 delta range. We're seeing 66,300 calls, 33,600 puts, so as well, a heavy call side bias out of the short-term speculators on top of the overall call side bias. Listen, guys, remember, Palantir hits every single day at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, every day that the market's open, that is. So again, hey, if you get value out of these videos, you're a fan of Palantir, subscribe to the channel, helps out tremendously, and I'll see you in the next one.